The air in Madison Square Garden hung heavy with cigarette smoke and expectation. It was 1971, and Muhammad Ali, once the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, stood in the corner of the ring, his eyes fixed on the man across from him. 3 years of forced exile had changed him. The world had called him Cassius Clay, then Muhammad Ali, then Draft Dodger, and now, what? A has-been. A 30-year-old fighter past his prime. 20,000 people packed the arena that night, their voices merging into a thunderous roar that seemed to make the very foundations of the building tremble. Ali's cornerman, Angelo Dundee, leaned in close, his words barely audible above the crowd. "Remember what we talked about," Angelo whispered, his weathered hands gripping Ali's shoulders. "He thinks he knows your game. Show him something he ain't never seen before." Ali nodded, his face betraying nothing of the storm brewing inside him. The years away from boxing had been cruel. His title stripped, his passport taken, his legacy questioned, and now, facing Jimmy Ellis, his former sparring partner and friend, Ali felt something he rarely admitted: doubt. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, drawing out each syllable with theatrical precision. In the blue corner, weighing in at 226 pounds, the former heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali. The crowd erupted, a mixture of cheers and boos washing over Ali like a wave. He didn't dance, he didn't float. He simply raised his gloved fists, his eyes never leaving his opponent. In the front row, Howard Cosell adjusted his toupee nervously. "Something's different about him tonight," he muttered to his broadcast partner. But the sparkle isn't there. What nobody knew, what Ali himself barely acknowledged, was that his right hand had been giving him trouble for weeks, a deep, throbbing pain that shot up his arm whenever he threw his famous right cross. His doctor had advised against fighting. 6 weeks rest minimum, he'd said, but Ali couldn't afford 6 more weeks away from the ring. Not now, not when the world was waiting for him to fail. The bell rang, sharp and definitive, cutting through the noise of the crowd. Ellis came out fast, just as Ali had predicted, throwing a flurry of jabs that forced Ali to backpedal. The crowd sensed something was wrong. Where was the dancing, the taunting, the poetry in motion? "Is this the same Muhammad Ali?" someone shouted from the crowd. The words cut deeper than any punch. By the end of the second round, Ali's right hand felt like it was on fire. Ellis had landed several solid body shots, and a thin trickle of blood ran from the corner of Ali's mouth. In his corner, Angelo looked worried. "You're letting him dictate the fight," Angelo hissed. "Where's your footwork? Where's your jab?" Ali spat into the bucket and looked up at his trainer. "My hand," he said quietly. "I can't feel my fingers." If this story has already made you feel something, no matter how small, don't leave without giving back. Comment and tell me where you're watching this video from, and subscribe to the channel. The third round began, with Ellis growing more confident. He'd expected the legendary Ali, the man who had once seemed untouchable, unbeatable. Instead, he was facing a fighter who seemed hesitant, almost ordinary. Ellis pressed his advantage, backing Ali into the ropes with a combination that had the crowd on their feet. In that moment, trapped against the ropes with his right hand throbbing in agony, Ali made a decision. If he couldn't be the fighter everyone expected, he would become someone else entirely. Someone no one, not Ellis, not the crowd, not even Angelo, would recognize. When Ellis came in for another flurry, Ali didn't dance away. He didn't float like a butterfly or sting like a bee. Instead, he stood perfectly still. His face betrayed nothing, no pain, no fear, no emotion whatsoever. The crowd fell silent, confused by this new version of Ali. Ellis hesitated, thrown off by Ali's stillness. In that split second of confusion, Ali struck, not with his injured right, but with a lightning-fast left hook that seemed to come from nowhere. Ellis staggered, more surprised than hurt. "What was that?" Howard Cosell exclaimed into his microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're seeing something unprecedented from Ali tonight. He's fighting methodically." In the corner between rounds, Angelo was bewildered. "What are you doing out there? This ain't your style." Ali, breathing heavily, looked his trainer in the eye. "Today it is." As the fight progressed, a strange transformation took place. The crowd, initially disappointed by the absence of Ali's trademark flamboyance, began to appreciate the chess match unfolding before them. Ali was fighting with a controlled precision that was entirely new. He was economical with his movement, ruthlessly efficient with his left hand, and utterly unpredictable. In the sixth round, Ellis, growing frustrated, made a critical error. He overextended on a right hook, leaving himself exposed. Ali, who had been waiting patiently for just such a mistake, stepped in and delivered a series of short, surgical left hooks to Ellis's midsection. The last one found its mark perfectly, and Ellis folded to the canvas, gasping for air. The referee began the count. 1, 2, 3. Ellis struggled to his knees, his eyes glazed. 4, 5, 6. The crowd was on its feet now, a collective roar building as they sensed the end was near. 7, 8. Ellis made it to his feet at the count of 9, but he was unsteady, vulnerable. The referee looked into his eyes and waved the fight off. It was over. Ali had won, but not in the way anyone had expected. In the heat of the battle, Muhammad Ali had made a move that left everyone speechless and changed the fight forever. He had abandoned his own legend and reinvented himself in the space of a single fight. As the referee raised his hand in victory, Ali remained stoic, reserved. There was no dancing, no shouting, "I am the greatest." Just a quiet nod to Ellis, a gesture of respect from one warrior to another. Later, in the locker room, a young reporter pushed through the crowd. "Ali, what happened to your usual style? Were you trying to send a message tonight?" Ali looked up, his right hand submerged in a bucket of ice. For a moment, it seemed he might offer one of his famous poetic proclamations. Instead, he simply said, "Sometimes the loudest statement is silence." The room fell quiet as the words sank in. No one quite understood what they had witnessed that night, a champion reborn, not through flash and dazzle, but through adaptation and resolve. Dawn broke over Chicago 3 days after the fight. Ali sat alone by the window of his hotel room, watching the city come to life below. His right hand was wrapped in bandages. The diagnosis confirmed 3 fractured metacarpals, 6 months of recovery minimum. 6 months away from the ring he'd just fought so hard to reclaim. The phone on the nightstand rang, shrill in the morning quiet. Ali let it ring 4 times before answering. "Yeah. Muhammad, it's Howard. Howard Cosell." Ali straightened slightly. "Howard, calling to tell me how much I've lost. How I'm not the same fighter anymore." There was a pause on the line. "Actually, I'm calling to tell you that what I saw the other night might have been the most impressive performance of your career." Ali laughed bitterly. "You must have been watching a different fight." "No," Cosell insisted, his distinctive voice crackling through the receiver. "I was watching a man who, when faced with an impossible situation, found a way to win anyway. That's not just a great boxer, Muhammad. That's a true champion." After hanging up, Ali sat for a long time, staring at his bandaged hand. The doctor's words echoed in his mind. This kind of injury, fighting through it, could end your career permanently. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Angelo, looking tired and concerned. "You should have told me how bad it was," Angelo said, taking a seat across from Ali. "We could have postponed," Ali shook his head. "And give them one more reason to say I'm finished. No chance." Angelo leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "The commission doctor called me this morning. He says if you'd thrown even 5 more right hands, you might never have boxed again." The weight of those words hung in the air between them. 5 punches away from the end of everything. "I had to find another way," Ali said quietly. "And you did." Angelo nodded. "But at what cost?" The question lingered unanswered as Angelo left. Ali turned back to the window, watching a group of children playing basketball in a park across the street. One boy, tall and lean, was dancing around the others, his movements fluid and graceful. With each basket, he'd raise his arms in triumph, proclaiming his greatness to his friends. Ali smiled despite himself. He remembered that feeling, the pure joy of being exactly who you were meant to be, without compromise or adaptation. The next morning, the headlines were divided. Some called it Ali's most mature performance. Others questioned whether the great showman had lost his edge. None of them knew the truth, that Ali had fought with one hand quite literally tied behind his back. In a small gym on the south side of Chicago, Ali watched as his right hand was carefully unwrapped. The doctor examined it, his face grave. "The fractures are worse than we thought," he said. "The healing process will be delicate. One wrong move could set you back months." Ali nodded, absorbing this latest blow. "And Muhammad," the doctor added, "even when it heals, it may never be the same. You need to prepare yourself for that possibility." Later that day, alone in the gym, long after everyone had left, Ali stood before a heavy bag. His right hand was freshly bandaged, immobilized. With his left, he threw a jab at the bag, then another and another, each one sharper, more precise than the last. If his right hand never recovered fully, he would become the greatest left-handed fighter the world had ever seen. If he couldn't dance anymore, he would become a master of stillness. Whatever the world took from him, he would find a way to create something new from what remained. By midnight, his left arm burned with exhaustion, but a new determination had taken root. This injury wasn't the end of his story. It was simply the beginning of a new chapter. 6 months passed in a blur of rehabilitation, training, and reinvention. Ali's right hand healed slowly, regaining strength and mobility inch by painful inch. But during those months of recovery, his left had become a weapon of unprecedented precision. His footwork, once all about flash and speed, had evolved into something more efficient, more strategic. In gyms across the country, whispers spread about Ali's transformation. Some said he was finished. Others claimed he was more dangerous than ever. On a crisp autumn evening in 1972, Muhammad Ali stood once again in the center of a boxing ring. The opponent this time was Jerry Quarry, a tough, experienced fighter with a reputation for giving no quarter. The venue was Las Vegas, the stakes enormous. A win here would put Ali one step closer to a shot at reclaiming the heavyweight title. As Ali waited for the opening bell, he felt a strange calm. Gone was the nervous energy, the need to prove himself through showmanship. In its place was something deeper, a confidence born not of youthful invincibility, but of having faced his limitations and transcended them. The bell rang. Quarry came out aggressive, looking to overwhelm Ali early. But the Ali he faced was not the one Quarry had studied on film. This Ali moved differently, more economically, more deliberately. His jab, always quick, now had a surgical precision that kept finding its mark, despite Quarry's best defensive efforts. By the third round, confusion showed on Quarry's face. He had prepared for the dancing showman, not this methodical technician who seemed to be one step ahead of his every move. In his corner, Angelo grinned. "He doesn't know what to make of you," he said. "You've got him thinking instead of fighting." Ali nodded. his breathing controlled, and even time to show him the new right hand. Round 4 began with Quarry pressing forward, determined to cut off the ring and force Ali into a brawl. For a moment, it seemed to work. Ali found himself backed into the corner, Quarry launching a barrage of hooks and uppercuts. The crowd roared, sensing a potential turning point. This was the moment where the old Ali would have danced away, using his speed to escape danger. But that option was no longer available, not with his still recovering right hand, not with his new fighting style. In the heat of the battle, Muhammad Ali made a move that left everyone speechless and changed the fight forever. Instead of retreating, he stepped directly into Quarry's onslaught. With perfect timing, he slipped inside a wild hook and delivered a straight right hand that traveled no more than 6 inches. The punch landed flush on Quarry's chin. The arena fell silent as Quarry froze for an instant, then collapsed to the canvas like a marionette whose strings had been cut. The referee didn't even bother with a count. The fight was over. As medical personnel rushed to attend to Quarry, Ali stood in the neutral corner, his face solemn. There was no celebration, no taunting. Just the quiet acknowledgement of a journey completed, from forced exile to injury, to reinvention, to redemption. Later, at the press conference, a reporter asked the question everyone wanted answered. "Muhammad, we've seen a new side of you these past 2 fights. Is this the real Ali now? Is the showman gone for good?" Ali smiled, the familiar twinkle returning to his eyes. The real Ali isn't just one thing, never was. The real Ali is whatever he needs to be to win the fight in front of him. Sometimes that's the dancer, sometimes that's the talker. And sometimes, he paused, looking down at his once-injured right hand, sometimes it's the man who learns to be silent, to be still, and to make every move count. The following day, as Ali prepared to leave Las Vegas, he received an unexpected visitor in his hotel suite. It was Jimmy Ellis, the opponent from that pivotal night when his transformation began. "I watched your fight last night," Ellis said, taking a seat across from Ali. "You're not the same fighter I faced." Ali nodded. "No, I'm not." "You're better," Ellis said simply, "and I think I know why. That night against me, you were injured, weren't you? Your right hand." For a moment, Ali considered denying it. The injury had remained his secret, shared only with Angelo and his doctors. But looking at Ellis, he saw no point in continuing the charade. 3 fractures, Ali confirmed. "A doctor said one more hard right cross might have ended my career." Ellis shook his head in disbelief. "So you reinvented yourself mid-fight, with no preparation against a top-ranked opponent?" He let out a low whistle. "That's why you're the greatest, Muhammad. Not because of your speed or your power or your mouth, but because when the world takes away every advantage you have, you find a way to win anyway." As Ellis left, Ali stood by the window, looking out at the Las Vegas Strip. He thought about the journey of the past 18 months, the doubt, the pain, the reinvention. He thought about all the people who had written him off, who had said his best days were behind him. And he smiled, knowing that his greatest victory hadn't come from defeating Quarry or Ellis or any other opponent. It had come from defeating the limitations he'd placed on himself, from discovering that true greatness isn't about being perfect or unbeatable. It's about adaptation, about resilience, about finding strength in vulnerability. In the end, that was Muhammad Ali's silent move, the one that changed everything. Not a punch or a dance step or a poetic boast, but the quiet, powerful recognition that sometimes, to become who you're truly meant to be, you have to let go of who you thought you were. If you made it this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing. I tell these stories with my heart on my sleeve to reach people like you, who feel, who get emotional, who live. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me until the next video.